Hello, human geographers. So we are going to be continuing on our Unit 3 on culture by looking at historical causes of diffusion. So some of the one of the underlying themes of this unit includes that cultural ideas, practices, and innovations change or disappear over time. Some of the takeaways include being able to explain how historical processes impact current cultural patterns. So right now we're going over historical, and our next video will be looking at contemporary. Some essential learning points include interactions between and among cultural traits and larger global forces can lead to new forms of cultural expression. We're going to be focusing on language to exemplify that. Also, colonialism, imperialism, and trade have helped to shape patterns and practices of culture. So what are some historic causes of cultural diffusion? So here we have this overarching idea of imperialism. So this is the dominance of one country over another country, either done through diplomacy or by force. And we've seen this in two different ways. Let's look at colonialism first. So this is when a powerful country establishes settlements in a less powerful country for economic and or political gain. This is something that we don't really see happen in modern times. Now we have more neo-colonialism instances. So this is like new colonialism. This describes how the imperialism can happen through assertion of political, economic, and cultural influence, not so much occupation. So some of the history behind this is that as European powers were colonizing different areas of the world, language and religion was imposed on the indigenous population of those areas. So that interaction between the Europeans and the indigenous peoples ended up resulting in some new forms of communication as well as cultural traits. So if you just pause the video here for a moment, you can take a good look at this map. And this, you should be able to kind of see that we'll find trends of particular cultural traits that are grouped within these regions. So first we have trade. So people interact in order to buy and sell goods, and this interaction results in the exchange of culture and ideas. Once you open up those lines of trade, those lines for economics, it's not just the goods that are being bought and sold that end up being exchanged, but also language, ideas, so many other things that go along with that. And even the goods themselves can be an indication of cultures exchanging actual artifacts, right? Like physical goods. So one example is the Silk Road. So this is something that historically connected East Asia and Europe. Because of this, it was central to cultural, political, and religious interactions between these two different regions of the world. So historically, we did see a lot of diffusion of various cultural traits because of the Silk Road. So what new forms of interaction have developed because of that? So first we have language. This can include something called Pidgin language. This is an extremely simplified, limited, non-native language used by two people that speak two different languages. So this is a very crude, a very basic form of language in order to be able to communicate. So one example we see is in Papua New Guinea. We have a mixture of English and indigenous language, and that is because it was a British colony. Other examples include Hawaii, where we have the indigenous language of the Hawaiian Islands mixing with English. So Creole language or creolization is a form of Pidgin language. And what happens is that it develops over time and then eventually becomes its own language with native speakers. So no longer being used just as a form of communication between two people that don't speak the same language, but have kind of created a hybrid language. We've seen this historically develop through settings of colonization or slavery. So two examples include Cajun or Louisiana Creole. This is a language, and this is spoken in Louisiana and came to being because of that mix of English and French. We see something similar. We have in Haiti, they speak a form of French that is a mix of both West African indigenous languages and French. So both of these are their own distinct languages. Lingua franca, this is a common language. So this is a usually large, well known languages. So this is spoken in order for basic communication, usually for business or trade or commerce, or often in pop culture. So the world lingua franca, especially at the moment, is English. That's how I've been able to get by here in Switzerland and many other places. Most people speak at least basic English, so that is considered a lingua franca. Regionally, we see Mandarin as the lingua franca in China, Swahili within Africa, Arabic in Southwest Asia, and then Russian in Eastern Europe and Russia, right? So also, if you pause this video, you can take a good look at this chart here, which goes over the world's top languages. So you can kind of see which languages are the base or the lingua franca to many types of communication. So dialects, these are variations that can include because of accent, culture, usage of words, or even spelling. And these typically develop out of geographic distance or isolation. So for instance, I mean, even if we just think about our school, lots of different accents in English or even words that are used in different places that speak English. So for dialect, this is when different words are used with the same language. Accents are different pronunciations. In this example, I think y'all will like. In the US, you can say you all, y'all, which is kind of just what I always end up saying. You guys, which I also end up saying quite a bit as well. Use guys and you ones. So those are just variations, right, of English, even just within the same country. English has numerous dialects because of the large number of primarily English-speaking countries. So because of British colonialism, we see many different accents, many different dialects, all kinds of grammar and usage with English alone. Official language, this is used by governments, and it's supposed to be done for being able to unify understanding of laws, reports, signs, like driving signs and directions, public objects, money, stamps. So this is done to try to unite countries, right? That's the positive side. If you come from a place or if a country has many different types of people, as long as there's a base language where everybody can communicate, that can create unity. Some downsides is that sometimes languages of powerful majority or former colonial powers can marginalize or isolate other languages and cultures within that place, right? So then this is where we start to see certain languages dying or just not being taught and spoken. So to recap, make sure you can think about the history of how certain current cultural patterns began, being able to think about how language plays a role in that, and also the connection of colonialism, imperialism, and now trade help to shape patterns and